Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Robbie Rhino, and in today's video I have two replays for you. The first, as you can see in the background, is in the Wiesel TOW and Era 3 Premium Tank Destroyer in the Cold War game mode, and the second gameplay is in the infamous Object 477A, which is another Era 3 Premium Tank Destroyer. This time a slightly different playstyle, however both very powerful tanks, and both of these tanks and these replays serve the purpose of today's video, which is to talk about the terminology of broken tanks and OP tanks. The second replay in today's video is my highest damage I've ever been able to record inside World of Tanks console. I'm not very proud of it really, because it's in the Object 477A, and yeah, it's largely considered just completely OP, and yeah, I'd rather it be in a vehicle that took a little bit more time and skill and patience to be able to think my way through the battle and be something to be proud of. However, yeah, I'm still happy to have the result that I did in the second gameplay. So before we get talking about the terms broken and OP, which is the main subject of today's video, I'll talk you through my commander and equipment setup on the Wiesel TOW if you wish to play it the same as I have done in the first gameplay here, which is on Alamein, and then yeah, we'll get talking about the main subject of today's video. So in terms of the Wiesel TOW, how I like to run this vehicle with my equipment is the advanced powertrain, the advanced concealment, and also the traction system. And with my commander skills, I like to run Sixth Sense, Born Leader, Rapid Loading, Camouflage Expertise, Silent Driving, Muffled Shot, Green Thumb, Clutch Braking, and Off-Road Driving. So yeah, everything to improve the DPM, but more importantly, the concealment and the mobility of this very sneaky tank destroyer slash light tank. So as you're watching this replay here on Alamein, as we've already put in a decent amount of damage, yeah, let's get talking about the subject of today's video. So the Wiesel TOW was recently on sale on Boxing Day last year, and since then people have been asking me, but also everyone involved in the sort of volunteer program with World of Tanks console and all of the staff, when is the 477A going to be available again in the store? And the reason people are asking for both of these tanks is the words broken and OP. Now, those words are often used interchangeably within the game. However, I think there are some subtle differences between what is a broken tank or a broken feature and what is an OP tank or an OP feature. And I'm going to try and break down as concise as possible what I think the differences are. And then you can let me know in the comments whether you think they are the same thing or whether you agree with me, or yeah, you might have a completely different opinion and you might be thinking I'm talking out of my ass. But I'd love to know. Please let me know in the comments down below, and yeah, a like and a subscribe would really help me out as well if you would consider doing so. So what is a broken tank or a broken feature? Well, I think it's a feature or a playstyle of a tank that is just extreme, and a feature or a playstyle of a tank that cannot be countered or stopped in that particular moment. So examples of this would be high alpha damage. So World War II, a perfect example, the FV 4005 with its 183mm caliber gun. Yeah, alpha damage in excess of over 1,000, and in the Cold War game mode, ATGMs are a perfect example, and yeah, that's why I've included the Wiesel TOW here in the background in the first gameplay. What else is broken? Well, what else is extreme? Things like large caliber guns with HE or HESH, so things like the Centurion Avery in the World War II game mode. You don't have to penetrate, you can just splash anywhere on the tank and you're going to do a crazy amount of damage, you know, 500 upwards, and it just means that there's no real skill in that required. What other things would I consider broken? Things that have insane concealment, and this usually applies to the Cold War game mode in my opinion, although there's the True Vision system where you can of course always see with the naked eye the tanks like on the map. Sometimes it's hard to see, so the Wiesel TOW is a perfect example. You can get the concealment down if you choose the same setup as me to not being spotted until you're within the proximity detection range, which is 50 meters. So you can zoom up behind someone with your stupid mobility, your crazy concealment, and your high alpha damage with your 80 DGMs and blast them in the ass, and then just, run away and, live to fight another day. What else would I consider broken on a tank? Armour that can't be penned frontally or doesn't have a weak spot frontally. And another kind of aspect, this isn't really an aspect of a particular tank, but just YOLOing in general. Platoons of Wiesels, platoons of light tanks, YOLOing in. You can't do anything to stop someone playing the game like that. That's kind of a playstyle that is adopted by broken tanks that encourage it. ELC even 90, things like that in the World War II game mode. But the Wiesel tow is a perfect example here. You can go in on your own or in a platoon over the ridge. You can spot up the enemy team. You can put an 80 GM or two and then run away with your mobility and concealment. Sorry if my voice is slowly dying. And you can live to fight another day. And I think that is something that is completely broken. So what is OP if broken isn't the same as OP? Well, in my opinion, something that is OP is when something is so good that any player can have a good game regardless of their skill level. And I'm not talking about a kind of YOLO run where it's one and done, like in something with an 80 GM like the Wiesel or a light tank. What I'm talking about is a consistently good amount of damage regardless of your skill level, and it doesn't take any thought into it. So in the Centurion Avery in World War II, you can have a game, splash a few tanks, do a few thousand damage, and you don't even have to aim. You can sit at the back of the map, you can sit wherever you want, and you don't have to necessarily play it how, a good player or a more skilled player would play that particular tank. I also think with an OP tank, it's multiple broken features all combining to make that OP name. So in the form of the 477A you're going to be watching in the second gameplay, you're going to be seeing, good mobility for a non-turreted tank destroyer, absolutely insane armour, the best armour frontally in the game. The turret isn't even a hitbox, so when you hold down you can't even hit it, there's no weak spot there. You've got high alpha damage, extremely high penetration, a secondary gun to go alongside that, and you've got a lot of HP as well. So multiple things combining to make something OP. I also think OP tanks, when they're compared to the broken tanks, OP tanks are more likely to be able to carry a game, especially if you're an average to a good player. You can just abuse the tank and carry games when you're outnumbered, and you're going to be seeing kind of similar gameplay to that in the second gameplay, where there's nothing your opposition can do. If you have at least one brain cell, you're going to be able to get out of some situations without even really having to try. And more importantly, I think that OP tanks increase your win rate overall, regardless of your skill level. So if you're a terrible player, you're going to have, a 5 to 10% better win rate in that tank than you would do in any other tank. And if you're a great player, the same applies to you. It just means that you're more able to sort of carry those end game scenarios, and it just allows the experienced players to consistently dominate and bully newer players to the game. So to kind of summarize very briefly at the end, the main differences in my opinion: broken tanks can be taken out. They don't always impact the outcome of a battle overall, but they can do to some extent, and broken tanks can be countered over the course of a battle to players that have some knowledge of the tanks and some knowledge of the game and a little bit of skill. You can take them out, it's just that their particular feature is just ridiculous to play against. You might get splashed for a lot, hit for a lot, you might not know when the shell is coming in with artillery, but eventually you can counter them and have a decent game. Whereas with OP tanks, they consistently impact the outcome of a battle regardless of skill level, and I think that OP tanks can rarely be countered over the course of a battle. You might be able to get one shot in here or there, but by the end of the battle they're sometimes on full health, or they've already gone through your whole teammates and there's nothing else you can do about it. So they're similar things in my opinion, OP and broken, but not quite the same. OP tanks would require too much balancing because there's so many things to change about them, whereas broken tanks sometimes could be redeemed if they had their particular feature or playstyle nerfed slightly. So in the form of the Wiesel, reducing its concealment, making it slightly slower might, make it slightly easier to play against. And I think that both broken and OP tanks are, they're sought after because they're so powerful and they're often fun because you're winning more, or you feel like you're doing more than what you're putting into your game in terms of your skill level. I think that people can sometimes struggle with broken tanks, so I've seen a lot of people pick up the Wiesel over Christmas and they're getting a couple of ATGMs in, but because they're YOLOing in, they're not thinking about their mobility or their setup, they're not setting up their tank correctly, they are struggling a little bit, whereas with the 477A, I think even if you didn't really have sometimes equipment or a fully pimped out commander, you could still have a good game. People could still do very well, because if you don't know where to shoot this thing, if you don't have a high enough caliber gun to overmatch the sides of this vehicle, you're kind of screwed in some scenarios. And if there's a platoon of them on the enemy team, then good luck, Chuck. You're going to be out of the game and you're going to be back in the garage having lost the game. What is similar about OP and broken tanks is that they both are detrimental to the game, and the fact that they're going to create more blowout games. Games are going to finish 15-0, 15-3 very, very commonly, and that's happened to me plenty of times with Era 3, and it's more of a problem in Era 3 because you have the Wiesel Toe and the Object 477A, and it just means the pace of the game is increased and there's more blowout games, and it's just not fun for everyone. So I think that those are the differences between OP and broken tanks or features. Let me know in the comments what you think, whether they are essentially the same thing. And yeah, we'll get talking about the rest of this gameplay as we're here on Berlin in the Object 477A. So we've already picked up 5.2k damage, and in normal Object 477A fashion, we haven't actually taken any damage because nobody knows where to shoot this tank. The turret and the guns on top aren't a hitbox. You can sometimes shoot the turret ring from the side, but it's kind of hit and miss whether you actually hit the damn thing. You can overmatch the tracks on the side, but you need a gun caliber the same size as the 477A, so 120, 105mm caliber guns can overmatch the side. You just have to get round the side of this vehicle, shoot it in the side and the rear, but that's easier said than done, especially on corridor maps like here on Berlin, where we are absolutely dominating. Granted, there are quite a few bots in this particular game, which is another reason I'm not overly proud of myself for this particular game and the highest damage that I've ever recorded, but there is a platoon of Object 477As on the enemy team, which I'm proud to say that we sort of combat towards the end. You're going to see it's a good fight now. It's now 4 against 7, and we were at risk of getting capped out there, but we had the mobility to rush back with this crazily OP tank. We hit a Wiesel Toe there, which probably should have killed that tank in reality, but that tank's got absolutely magical armor, and it can sometimes get rammed without taking any damage. And yeah, as long as we're keeping these tanks frontally to us, I'm confident that we're going to be able to take down this scenario. I'm not sure why I'm continuously firing my secondary gun there. As we stop to aim, we finally take up that enemy Wiesel Toe. This particular game was when I was kind of ill. I was led back in bed playing on my laptop through a pass-through link to my TV, and I was kind of high on morphine at the time with my bad back, so I still managed a game like this, not particularly trying an awful lot and playing pretty poorly, and it just goes to perfectly show why the Object 477A is absolutely insane inside World of Tanks console. So here come the platoon of Object 477As. I'm not sure they've realised that I'm a bot or a real player, but them ignoring me is going to allow me to get some side shots in here, and I've got a high enough caliber gun here with the 477A to be able to overmatch the sides of these tanks. I've got no secondary ammunition left, so it's all with this primary gun, and we're going to help out our friendly Wiesel Toe, who's going to try and help me take out this endgame scenario. We are up against 4 enemy tanks. We do have another heavy tank here on our team, but shortly he will be taken out, and I'm just trying to keep everyone frontally, because as soon as they get around the side of me, As soon as I'm double tracked, that's when I'm in real trouble, and I'm trying to get as much damage into these 477As as possible, because they're the most overpowered tank that is left on the enemy team, and we are slowly whittling their HP down. I don't know how our friendly Wiesel TOW is managing to stay alive, but this Wiesel TOW is managing to stay alive in this scenario. We try and go, I think, there for the side, but we somehow hit the upper plate, probably just poor aim. So I'm going to pop a smoke, and then we're going to try and go to town on this T72BM. I'm reversing down this street in case they come at me, and now it's a case of keeping as many people frontally to me as possible. So the next one to farm me was the T72BM, so I tried to keep him frontally. The 477A is now behind me, so I'm going to reverse up, and yeah, I'm going to try and keep these tanks in front of me. And if these players were slightly more knowledgeable maybe of the overmatch mechanics, they would just try and hit me in the side. However, the T72BM is probably the least of my worries, which is why I turn to the 477A. I'm trying to bait the 477A into shooting my upper hull or my turret, and they won't be able to pen that. Even if they were sort of right on top of me, it's not even a guaranteed penetration. And then we're going to put round after round into the side of the enemy 477A. Our friendly Wiesel TOW takes out the other 477A, so now it's just this T72BM and another light tank on the enemy team. We set the T72BM on fire, trying to bait again just this T72BM into shooting my ridiculously stupid armor on the front of this vehicle. And yeah, we do bounce. However, we're going to reload again. We're going to nudge him for some damage and go straight through his upper plate, and that brings us our 6th kill of this game, and we are up to 19,262 damage. So there's one light tank on the enemy team. I'm not really sure where the light tank's going to be, but there's 2 of us, so hopefully we should be able to hunt him down. And as there's 7 minutes remaining, we do have a little bit of time. We are spotted, so I'm just wiggling in case there's an ATGM incoming. I couldn't quite remember what the light tank was at this point, or whether it even had ATGMs. And our base is now being captured, so we're going to head back to the base and see if we can defend the base. And as we are on the way, I believe the enemy light tank is going to disappear out of the base, and then it's going to be a hunt again. So at this point, I don't want to be playing kissy chase around Berlin. I'm going to make a decision in a minute to go straight back to the enemy base and capture with the Wiesel. And if the light tank decides to come after us, then he decides to come after us, and we should be able to take him out because there's 2 of us. And if not, we're going to win the game. I kind of wanted a win in this game because we did so much damage. However, it would have been nice to have been able to take out this enemy light tank, spoiler alert, and yeah, get over that 20k damage mark. But I'm sure it will happen, especially if tanks like the 477A keep getting sold, where yeah, players just don't know what to do friendly against this tank. And in certain tanks, there isn't really much you can do. And if you can't get to the side, if you're on a corridor map, or if the tracks have been boosted some way with the setup, then yeah, there's really nothing you can do against this vehicle. So we're going to be capping out with the Wiesel. Light tank's nowhere to be seen. And quickly I'll tell you what I run in my equipment with this vehicle. In terms of the equipment, what I now run is the advanced loader, the gun lane drive, and the traction system. I've taken out the advanced powertrain for the gun lane drive. In this particular replay, I was using the advanced powertrain, and on my commander I run 6th Sense, Born Leader, Rapid Loading, Steady Aim, Rapid Aim, Snapshot, Run and gun, clutch braking and off-road driving to get the most out of the gun, and the mobility and the DPM. So that's understandably a mastery badge there. High caliber for 19,262 damage there in the Object 477A with 1838 base XP. Again, a lot of bots, but there was a platoon of 477As and a Magak on the enemy team. We pick up 6 kills, 333 assistance, 5.4k damage blocked, and yeah, that was my video on what is an OP and what is a broken tank. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you for watching today's video, and until next time, I'll see you on the battlefield, and bye for now.